Any
This
nays?
conference will now be recorded.
Today we had an executive session in regards to real estate. Uh, Ms. Vice President and Councilwoman Lewis is here. Councilwoman Smith, Vice President Smith, can we have the announcements, please?
Yes, sir. The Norristown testing site at 1401 DeKalb Street has reopened. The new hours are Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. To register for a test, please visit moncopa.org/COVID-19 and select county testing information at the top of the page, or call 610-970-2937. Additionally, the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium will be in Norristown to provide free COVID testing on Saturday, July 11th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 1329 Willow Street. More information is available at www.blackdoctorscovid19consortium.com. As a reminder, masks are now mandated to be worn in Pennsylvania stores, on public transportation, and when you cannot socially distance outside. So please wear your masks, everyone. Street sweeping resumed on July 1st, and related parking violations and ticketing resumed on July 6th. The Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency started accepting applications on July 6th for rent and mortgage relief for those who have lost income due to COVID-19 closures. More information about this relief program is available at norristown.org. And lastly, Municipal Hall reopened on July 1st. Masks and social distancing is required for all visitors. And that's all from me, Mr. President.
Any other announcements? Okay, seeing none, good. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do. Okay, the first one, Maccabee Hirsch, 1745 North Hills Drive. She said, stop the sewer sale. Kurt Martin, 245 Buttonwood Street. What are you going to do about the constant flooding at the corner of Lafayette and Buttonwood Streets? The way the streets are angled when the drains fail, as they always do, it forces the water to run along the sidewalk and into the homes on Buttonwood. I believe there should be a drain at the corner to combat the water to help save the properties from further damage. David Repper, 1839 Powell Street. Please stop the sale of the Norristown sewage system to Aqua. Aqua is motivated only by profit and will jack up rates while deferring maintenance. Don't let Aqua make profits on our sewer system. Patrick McLaughlin, 554 Stanbridge Street. Don't privatize our public service. Stop the sale. Norristown Council should cancel the Aqua sale. Kathleen McLaughlin, 554 Stanbridge Street. Dear Council, do not privatize our public services. Rachel Fecco, 715 Noble Street. I want to express my full and enthusiastic support for making Juneteenth a municipal holiday and for changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. Thank you. I am disappointed that 5 of our council members failed to listen to their constituents regarding the sale of our public sewer authority to a for-profit company. I am upset that Sonny Sanders justifies the sale by saying there is no creativity in local government. I am upset that Valerie Cooper implied that Norristown citizens were a bug in the ear to Hakeem Jones and Rebecca Smith. I am disappointed that Thomas LaPera seemed to have second thoughts, but acted like he was too new to have his own voice. Hold on. We need new, young, fresh minds and voices. I am disappointed that the 5 who voted yes seem to be following Crandall Jones without questioning or doing the research that Hakeem and Rebecca did. We need you, who know and love and are from Norristown, to do the research and make a decision based on what Norristown wants and needs. Some of you implied that we elected you to make these decisions for us. No, no way. We elected you to be our voice, not your own. So speak for us. It's not too late to change course, and we, the annoying bugs in your ears, are not going away. The public has not had ample opportunity to learn about and weigh in on this issue. But for the few that have, you've ignored us. For something this big, a much bigger effort should be made to inform the public and to solicit their thoughts on the matter. The 3 public meetings that were advertised said the purpose of the meetings was to present the results of the detailed exploration process that the municipality conducted over the past 2.5 years. These 3 meetings did not present any summary of the exploration process and other options explored. These presentations were not even from the municipality or council. They were sales pitches from Aqua. The public deserves to know about the other options as thoroughly as Aqua discussed the privatization option. I know that council says there was plenty of opportunity for public input. Last meeting, Mr. Perry told me he didn't tell me anything about it during a meeting at Coffee Talk because it wasn't finalized yet. That's the problem. It was kept hushed until it was all but done, then advertised for the very minimum allowed by law, 7 days. And for what? Why rush, especially during a pandemic when the public is stressed, distracted, and less able and likely to participate in public meetings? Don't be railroaded and rushed by Crandall Jones, Aqua, and the too good to be true promise of quick money. Listen to your constituents, talk to us, do more research, and ask surrounding townships and municipalities how their water privatization is working out. Spoiler alert, they regret it. Learn from their mistake, say no to privatization. Thank you. And I believe that's all. That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank everyone for their public comments. We are going with an appointment. Mr. Jones, can you lead us, please?
Thank you, sir. Mr. President and Council, what you have before you is Resolution 20-60 of 2020, which is the appointment of professional staff. This resolution would appoint Cozen O'Connor as a labor attorney for the municipality through the end of this year, and this will come up again for consideration at the next reorg meeting.
Council, any questions or comments? Councilman Jones.
Yeah, Crandall, we are making an appointment in the middle of a contract. So with respect to the public, could you kind of elaborate within reason, within your vision on why we're making this decision and what we hope to see going forward?
Certainly. Council, and for the public benefit, the council did make an earlier appointment. What was determined in the first 6 months of evaluation is that the municipality is better served by a more full service labor firm like Cozen. Cozen has been our labor attorney before, was one under consideration initially. And they actually provide a level of service that a lot of labor firms do not. And as we were going through this process of evaluation for the last 6 months, we felt like and recommended to council that we be better served. Once having that discussion, council agreed, and that's why this resolution is before you, so that we can complete this year and with the organization being best served by a full service labor firm.
Council, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, and we have a motion to request council to appoint Cozen O'Connor as municipal labor attorney to serve in the various capacities within the municipality of Norristown.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, can we have roll call, please?
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Heather Lewis,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye. The ayes have it. Resolution 20-60 passed. Chief Talbot, Resolution 20-51, please.
Yes, sir.
Resolution 20-51 is a request for council to consider removing a handicap parking space at 1304 Arch Street, and also authorize handicap spaces at the following locations: 658 Corson Street, 120 West Freedley, and 1600 Locust Street.
Question. Council, any questions or comments? Councilman Jones.
Yeah, hey, Chief, this is, I don't think I have the ability to ask later, but it's regarding parking. Many residents receive letters about street cleaning parking. On many days, they have to park, they have to move their cars on street cleaning, and many cars have started moving them to the other side of the street, which has been permitted for quite some time. But they recently received letters stating that they will no longer be able to park on the other side of the street. My concern is with some of the seniors and some of the folks that are disabled who have a really hard time finding parking. Is that something that that your department is going to be enforcing?
So the concession that we were making was to accommodate people being off work, pandemic. And then we recently started to put warning notices on people's cars to let them know that we're going to resume issuing citations again. So we wanted to give as much notice as possible, but at this point, yeah, we're going to resume issuing citations.
Councilman Jones, I'll say this. I think as a council, and we'll talk about it, as we see what's going on in the world and seeing if nothing goes back to the original way that it is, the world, then we'll come up with a census. You know, that's our decision at the end of the day. I did give Mr. Jones directions, and I called everybody to make sure that, you know, everybody was on board, that we gave another week for people to, you know, figure some stuff out. But we'll keep looking at this and keep paying attention to that. So no worries about that. Can we have a motion to?
No, Councilman Perry, I don't think my question. I think my question was misconstrued. What I was asking about was residents on street cleaning days had been parking their cars on the opposite side for the street to be clean, and they had not been ticketed. So what I think some folks feel is that they're no longer going to be able to move their cars to the opposite side on street cleaning days because there's no parking in other parts of their neighborhood. Is that a little bit more clear? I understand COVID.
I mean, I'm not.
So on street.
Maybe we should talk about it offline. Maybe I'm misunderstanding you, but the locations where they will receive a ticket have the signs. They should be able to see where they're going to be authorized to park and where they're not.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
my
I think
understanding is that we're just going back to how the, streets cleaning and parking situation was pre-COVID. Like nothing has changed as far as my understanding. So they should
that's
still be
correct.
able to park in the areas that they were parking pre-COVID.
correct.
Correct.
So can we have a motion to approve handicap parking spaces, to establish handicap parking spaces at the following address: 1304 Arch Street, and a request for the removal of handicap parking spaces at the following address, which is 658 Corson Street, 120 West Freedley Street, and 1600 Locust Street.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, can we have roll call, please?
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Heather Lewis,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye. Ayes have it. Resolution 20-51 passes. Chief Talbot, Resolution 20-52, please. And 53, you might as well.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. President. Resolution 2052 is a motion to council to approve or deny a contract to purchase 2 new police vehicles. They are 2 2020 Ford Interceptor SUVs. We currently have 14 marked and unmarked patrol vehicles in our fleet. We lost a couple of vehicles fairly recently, one in November of last year, and then another one in February of this year. So we need these 2 cars to get our fleet back up to where we need it to be. The total cost for these 2 vehicles is $70,145. We're currently we've worked with finance to make sure that these finance and public works to make sure that these are the vehicles that are most appropriate in terms of price and selection. And then 20-53 is for the upfitting of these 2 vehicles. Total cost to upfit both vehicles is $33,486.48, which is pretty consistent with what we've always paid to upfit our vehicles.
Mr. President, if I can ask a quick question, I just want to clarify. I know we had some discussion earlier that our fleet supervisor had recommended that we go to a hybrid vehicle, and that at the time, because of the urgency of needing them, only one hybrid was available. So we got a hybrid and a gas powered. I know during the course of the last couple of days, it's come up that a second hybrid became available, and he let us know. We talked to finance, and finance was good with we can make it work in the budget. I don't know if the numbers you just quoted included that, Mark, but it's about $3,500 more for the second hybrid vehicle, and our fleet supervisor said that is the one that best serves us in terms of maintenance costs. And so if that has not been the case, and since finance has said that we definitely can handle that cost in the budget that we have, I'd like to offer that we council add that $3,500 in that second hybrid instead of a gas powered vehicle to the fleet, if that's what the chief wants to have happen.
Yes, thank you, Crandall. I did not include that updated information. Thank you for including that.
Council, any questions or comments? Councilwoman Smith.
I just have a question about a point in our agenda packets that said that we didn't enter into the agreement with Enterprise for vehicle fleet replacement. Didn't we approve that in February? And what happened with the agreement, I guess?
I'm certain that Norm can tag team on it. I can start it off. Essentially, they made some representations to us that, and in the process, that they would be able to provide the full range of vehicles that we needed. At the end of the day, they came back and tried to, after they had agreed to do it, renege on police vehicles, which was the greatest and most important need that we had, and wanted to go with all the other vehicles. I think the issue ultimately came down to, after a series of conversations between myself, them, and Norm, was that their bottom line in terms of their profit margin on the police interceptors was not satisfactory to them, and they came with really a whole bunch of just mistruths about why. And when we challenged them on it, at the end of the day, we decided we didn't want to go with them because there was no value in doing it that way. We could certainly acquire the vehicles without it, and they wanted us to pay an extra premium if we did insist on doing the police vehicles. So we're looking at some other avenues now to accomplish the fleet model. They just are not it.
Council, any other questions, comments? I have one. If we were looking for other companies, wouldn't it have been feasible, instead of buying the vehicles, to look for other leasing companies, which has always been something to talk about, where this would have saved us probably more dollars for the police force at the end of the day?
Actually, leasing is an option when cash flow is unavailable. It typically costs more to lease. You're just paying less up front because you're going to pay for the financing costs of leasing at the same time. So for us, talking about two vehicles, talking about the urgency of the need, and that we had it in the budget to make the police department whole now, both Norm and I thought it was much more prudent to go ahead and buy these, and we will still look at a fleet company, and we're still investigating an alternative means of acquiring the larger fleet. So this is just to accommodate what's been a long time in coming to accommodate the police, and that's part of the frustration. We were trying to get them taken care of as soon as possible, and we just been going around in circles with these guys.
Any other questions or comments, Council? Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion to purchase two 2024 Interceptors SUV with an added $3,500 for the extra hybrid?
So moved.
Second.
We have a roll call, Madam Secretary.
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Heather Lewis,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye. Derek
Perry.
Aye. The ayes have it. Resolution 20-52 passes with the added $3,500. Can we have a motion to have two 2020 Ford Interceptor SUV police vehicles uplifted?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, can we have roll call, please?
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Heather Lewis,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye. The ayes have it. Resolution 20-53 passes. Mr. Jones, can you talk about the professional services agreement, please?
I'll be happy to. And Mr. President, whether you want to do it at this point or before my section is over, just want to put it out there so I don't forget. I did send. Okay. So
I got it up. I'm ready.
Okay, excellent. All right. So, Council, the first item is as a request for Council to bring out the table and reconsider Resolution 20-50 Professional Services Agreement for Pre-Construction Phase and Construction Phase to Gorski Engineering, a contract in the amount of $290,316. I know there were some questions asked at the last meeting, and I shared some information with Council since then and wanted to kind of reiterate it in terms of an urgency as far as movement of the project. One of the things to reiterate is that certainly this contract is a professional services contract, and professional services is a management profession, and not a construction management is a project management item, which is professional services and not a construction item, which is why there was no need to bid it out. Much like the architectural services, much like the engineering services, it's a professional services contract. And the construction management part actually is the management of all the billing, design, planning, oversight of construction, and services related to completing this project. When we initially brought this firm on, we had this discussion earlier about somebody had to be the firm that would be responsible for day-to-day oversight, fiscal oversight on site of the project as it goes, reviewing all of the bills, making sure that the work is done according to standards, both federal standards, our standards, state standards related to all aspects of development of this project. And so we did go through a process of interviewing 3 firms, myself and the municipal engineer, to bring to council the firm we thought it was best suited to do this job. As a part of that, I know the municipal engineer talked to other colleagues about the firms. I know I talked to my colleagues who had used these and other firms that were on the table. But after the presentation, this Gorski Engineering was the best firm that we thought could do this job. Now, I know part of the discussion was about the fees involved in doing this. As I shared in my communication, those fees, Gorski's fees represent about 2.2% the overall cost of the $30+ million project. That's very, very typical on the low end of the scale of what construction management, which is essentially project management, is for this. Typically, the cost ranges from 2% to about 16% for this type of project management and construction projects. 16% is the federal standard for doing this. So at 2.2%, Gorski came in, on the low end of the scale. As I shared, this company, whoever it is, works on behalf of the client, which is the municipality, and ultimately the council to ensure that project is completed in a very high manner, on time, and at or under the budget that council has approved for the project. Make sure that there are no cost overruns, coordinates with all contractors on the quality and timing of their work, their scheduling, materials used, etc. There will be multiple personnel that they use to oversee administrative and quality control oversight of the project. Again, contractor billing, payroll submittals, compliance with the council's responsible contractor ordinance. And my concern is, my highest concern is that if we were to go out and put out a solicitation for these services when we don't need to do, worst case scenario, we would go from going into a construction mode in this project, which is currently timed at being late summer, early fall, to as late as late spring, with probably the earliest being mid-spring, that we get to start this project earlier. That's also problematic about that is that, as you know, we're in the midst of looking at temporary space for this project, for the administrative operations other than the police. And we've been anticipating that we would have a December move into that. If this project goes back, we have one or two choices, because we've identified the space, are currently negotiating the space at Logan Square. This space is actually being marketed for longer term use than we need it. We're saying 18 months. Typically, folks who are leasing space like at Logan Square are looking for much longer tenures. The agreement was they wanted to help out the municipality in terms of doing this. So they've already taken the space off of the market in anticipation of us having a December date. So even if we moved in December, we would be there longer than 18 months, which would increase the cost of us doing the project. But if we continue on now as scheduled, we'll be able to keep that schedule and stay within what we have projected at doing this. If we wait, we essentially would have bids, and then we would be bringing on a new program manager, project manager, getting them acclimated to the process, and which would just add delay to the process at hand. I know the issue also of transparency was raised. Again, because this is a professional services contract, that is the transparency, as we did with the engineer, as we did with the architect, is to evaluate them, bring a selection before council, discuss that selection with council, and hopefully council issued the contract. So we certainly operated within what is normal practice and acceptable for having a project manager / construction manager for the project. So we're kind of on hold until council kind of pulls this off the table and acts on it. If you pull it off the table and say you want to do something different, I just want to make sure that it's fully understood that the project gets frozen, and I don't know how the dominoes fall in terms of ultimately where we would get to in terms of new space, because this was Logan Square was, the one space that we had found that was available to house our operations and be prepared to do so. So with that being said, I just ask council's reconsideration to take that off the table and award the contract to Gorski Engineering.
Council, any comments or questions? And I can't see you right now, but whoever has your hand up, just go ahead and speak.
Hey, it's Tom LaPera here. I brought up this issue, and I brought up the transparency issue, and I understand it's a professional services contract and that you're allowed to do that and everything like that. I have an issue though with, this firm being awarded a $300,000 contract, $290,000 contract, when, we bring in people to talk to the council about using diverse firms and, how we can, incorporate equality and diversity into every aspect of what we do here at council. And for the past 2-3 months, people have been marching in the streets in Norristown almost every single day for equality and diversity and all these issues. And I mean, to award a contract to Gorski Engineering, who's not really local to Norristown or diverse, I mean, all you really need to know is that they donate money to politicians that call Black Lives Matter terrorist organizations. I'm going to be a no on this, because I think that we have an opportunity here to actually be change agents and to show that we're going to be inclusive and diverse in every aspect of what we do here. So that's really all I have to say about that.
Well, if I can certainly respond and then let council do it. I know one of the reasons we did bring the group in was before council was to diversify the process. I know that Mr. Gorski and I have had a number of conversations about that. In the 98% of this project has the opportunity to accomplish that very thing, and I think everybody is aligned to that. But in the midst of, again, putting together a timeline for this project, and again, if council is willing to delay the project in pursuit of that, from a cost standpoint, for the 2% of this project, that you're going to you really kind of challenge the budget that's established for it. But for 98% of the project, you have the ability to accomplish that. I think, and I certainly fully support it. I know in terms of the conversations that I've had with Mr. Gorski, he's on the call. He certainly can respond for himself. But that is a conversation that we do, and that he was made aware that's the expectation of this council, that there will be minority participation on this project. I think at the end of the day, speaking as the manager from a purely pragmatic standpoint, knowing that what council had communicated to me it was that they wanted this project to get underway and get moving, that all of our goals is that it do so within budget, within the scope that's identified. I'm recommending that purely from the standpoint of the practical aspects of it. And I think if you got 98% of the project on the table and available for the participation we all want from qualified minority vendors, I think there's that great opportunity. I agree with you that should happen as a result of the project.
Councilwoman Scott Cooper.
Well, two things. First of all, Tommy, I totally agree in terms of wanting to have representation from all local minority groups. I totally agree with that. However, if in fact this particular contractor has stated that is what he plans to do, and we've already had him for the initial period, and in terms of wanting this project to move forward and not be stalemated, I would rather see Gorski continue on the project with the expectation that he will help to diversify his workforce. And when you look at all that's going on today, it's become an eye-opener. So I don't know what Gorski has done in the past in terms of diversifying the employees, but when you look across the board, across the country, a lot of people are getting their eyes opened. And so I think that we should allow him to continue so that we can move this project forward, and then he can prove to us that this is his intent. So I think that we should go with it.
Councilman Jones.
Crandall, I have a question. When you propose that we select a construction manager for $13,000, I believe that was the contract initially months ago, did you know that you were going to appoint the same person to do the actual construction work? That's my first question. And my next question is, who are the other firms that were in position to go after this funding, and what were some of the deal breakers on why you didn't feel it was necessary to give someone else an opportunity to bid on our work here in Norristown?
Getting feedback. I'll have to give you the name. We looked at 3 firms, and I essentially started with who had recently done construction management project for Municipal Hall and other municipal facility renovation within the region. And I talked to 4 or 5 managers. They recommended really 3 firms, and I talked to all 3 of those firms. And I can get you the names of them. I don't have them in front of me right now, but I'll be happy to get you the names of them. And both talking to those firms, looking at their projects that they've done for Limerick and a couple of other communities. I have to come up with, I can't remember the names now. I was satisfied. I got the municipal engineer involved with me. He researched the firms. He had some level of work, or people in his firm, and had some level of work with folks in most of the firms. So he was comfortable with the work that they had done. When we brought this one, it was really, we were at the phase when we started this process of trying to figure out if the project could be done, one, in this building, or two, on offsite, and three, within a cost that was reasonable for the municipality to undertake it. That work was that first phase work to do that. And as we got through that project, we knew yes to all of those answers, we could do that. But as we were starting to move beyond that phase, it became important then to make a choice in terms of what we wanted to do. I was very comfortable with the way we worked together, the way he worked with all of our team, interviewing all of you, all of the staff about their needs, and council about its needs as related to the facility. And when he made that final presentation regarding what the project can look like, once he'd helped choose the architect and to go through that process, it just made sense that that was what should happen, rather than at the point of going through that to then start a new solicitation for somebody else to take something that has gotten to the point with the council that you liked the concept that he had originally been contracted to provide for you. And so as we were putting that together, it just made sense to do that, because I knew hands-on by the quality of work that he'd done, by the quality of engagement that he had, by the engagement that he had with council in terms of to that point, it didn't make sense to do anything else.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilwoman Lewis?
Yes, I just have a couple of questions. One comment, I agree with Councilwoman Scott Cooper that we do need to get this project underway and let this be a learning experience to us all. And I think we've had these conversations about other contractors. You know what I mean? Crandall has his job to do, but we also know that these projects are coming. So I'm going to ask Tommy. I'm not a labor union. I'm not a labor person. So if there's a list of folks, or if there's some recommendations, or if there is someone that's not on the list when we put these, jobs out to bid and we're looking for these things, it's our jobs as well to bring that attention either to that developer or contractor, or make sure that they get the solicitation, or inform them that the solicitation is out there for them to apply. I mean, when it gets to this point, we've expected that our staff has done their due diligence. And so, at the 11th hour, it's somewhat embarrassing to, be raking over the coals about issues that we had time, just like we, kind of gave our community hell about the, the sale of the sewer authority, that we've had our opportunity to do our due diligence. And I know Tommy brought it up. That's why we're back at it again. So I appreciate that, but we have to we have a responsibility too, if we have something in mind or some organization in mind, then we need to bring it to their attention. So if there's anything, Tommy, you're the labor guy. So if there's anything that we're missing or that staff is missing, then, it needs to be, if we know that these things are going out there, then it needs to be, put out there. But also too, with this, diversifying our contractors and things like that, we're not only looking for diversity in the labor force, but we're also looking at for diversity in leadership, in ownership and decision making in these contractors that we're awarding these, hundreds of thousands of dollar contracts to, not just so that they can hire minorities, but that those are the minorities that are actually making decisions and actually owning these businesses. So it's not only are we looking for diversity in the workforce, but we're looking for diversity in the leadership and decision making.
Councilwoman, Vice President Smith.
Well, I guess thank you, Heather, because that's an excellent springboard into the question I had, which is, while we have Mr. Gorski here, I was wondering if we could hear directly from him about diversity and inclusion at Gorski Engineering, and whether or not a commitment to hire minorities is really just, you know, the lowest of the ranks, or whether there's people of color and women in supervisory roles throughout the company.
So there are women in leadership in our company. Unfortunately, one of our PMs has taken this COVID experience to decide that she's going to retire, but she is one of our top project managers, an engineer from Villanova by education, but she's toward the end of her career and just decided that it's so difficult to work as we are right now, where we have these virtual meetings and it's not business as it used to be. Our finance department is led by a woman. My wife works in this company. As far as our workforce, we have, let's see, out of 20 people, we're probably 10% minority in the craft side. And, you know, all of our folks are local from Montgomery, Bucks, Berks, Chester County, Philadelphia. So we're within I would say our offices in Perkins Township, our workforce is all within a 40-minute drive as far as our craft workers go. But we won't have any craft workers on the Norristown project. As Crandall explained, so our company is, as I explained, and as far as this project goes, we will have both a superintendent who is someone who has come up through the trades involved, and we will have a project manager. Right now we have 2 estimators involved, but once the project goes out to bid, we won't be doing any more estimating. We will just be doing the oversight, as Crandall said, both in the field and reviewing all the invoices and if there are any changes in the project, how they are managed. That's our job.
Council, any other?
Councilwoman Smith, I think if I read your resume right, you went to Arcadia. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So my wife went there before it was Arcadia. That's where her undergraduate degree is from.
So, any other questions or comments, council? I'll say this, you know, because I'm going to piggyback off everybody else, and I think when we use the word minority, I think it gets, it's a kind of weird word to me now, as we're going through governments of America and all of the things that we endure. But we have to start using people of color, and that's what we should be using, people of color. One thing that I know that this council has always done, and we're going to hold every minority, every director to this, that we no longer want to stay quiet about having people of color and minority businesses, and we as a council can start changing the language in those contracts, in every contract that we have here, the language in our ordinances and everything like that. So we are going to work, and we're going to hold everybody accountable to that. We no longer want to hear no. We no longer want to hear that we cannot do that. We want to hold our contractors, directors, and everybody to the highest standard that, you know, this council wants equality, and we don't want it tomorrow. We're behind the 8 ball, and don't take that literally. But when I say that, you know, a lot of our contractors are white firms, and there is no people of color in some of our contractors. And so we need to start looking and making sure that people of color come and have the same opportunities just like everybody else. So with that being said, if no one else has a question, as my computer just keeps acting up and I keep going off, but I do got my phone because I'm a little smart aleck. Can we have
President.
I had a comment, Council.
President Perry,
yeah,
I have
go ahead.
a few comments.
Councilwoman Sanders.
So, in terms of my colleagues' feedback, I'd like to echo a few. In terms of Councilman LaPera, he and I had some discussions in the past in terms of contractors, how they do come before council and they promise us this and they promise us that, and they get our vote and they get the contract. And then after that, no one seems to do any follow-up in terms of who has actually been hired and did they actually stick to their agreement. So I do agree with Councilman LaPera to that point. In terms of this discussion, actually, I've heard this several times in terms of hiring minorities. And it was my understanding at some point there was to be an event held at the municipality for minority contractors. I don't think that occurred, or either I missed that. Furthermore, I do like the fact that everyone is with inclusion, and which I do agree with. However, again, if we're going to enforce these contractors and hold them to their word, I mean, we as council folks really have to make sure they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And then with that being said, how as council people, how are we going to follow up? For instance, Councilman LaPera and I, we've had many, many discussions, and we've seen what has happened. We've seen contractors come before us, and lo and behold, they go and do what they want to do and hire who they want to hire. I would just like to see a process of some sort of enforcement to the contractors as to them sticking to their agreement. Two, I would like to see the event that was to occur for minority businesses to have an event to advertise Norristown as a welcoming community for these minority contractors to actually begin to bid.
I had a comment. I had one more comment, Councilman Perry. Well, I'll just go. So after hearing everybody, I'm a firm believer that this could have been handled a different way. You know, I know we make votes on where our tax dollars go and who they go to, and the process that's involved. This body, not this body, but council has gotten rid of committees quite some time ago. I think the only committees that exist right now are blight review, shade tree, and nothing that involves development, nothing that involves heavy, high-level contracts like this. And I think it's a disservice to our community when you don't have council members that can represent these type of decisions. I understand it's going to inconvenience the folks who really don't deserve it. It's going to inconvenience our workers, our police department, our staff that are working out of half, built offices. But I feel like when this initial contract was issued back many months ago, there is a better way to choose and work with providers, not just locally, but throughout the region, and those of minority status. So for that reason, I don't support this because it's convenient and it sounds like the easy way out, and I get it. Mr. Gorski started the work, but at the same time, $300,000 going out the door. I would like to see a little more discussion and opportunities for others to go after this contract. And if it means putting it out to bid, Um, I hope, I don't know anybody that's looking to move into Logan Square tomorrow. I think Logan Square will be there when we go through the process.
All right, thank you for your comment. Council, any other questions?
And I just have a comment to Councilman Jones. To
Yep.
the contrary, we were discussing this and we were made aware whether or not we were paying attention or not. It's not an issue of convenience. So I don't want to put it out there like that's why we're making this decision, because it was discussed and we did have a hiatus. So it's not an issue of convenience at this point. It's an issue of that's the business decision that we're making. So I don't think it's appropriate to put us in a position that we make decisions out of convenience.
I want to second that. You know, one thing that we did do, Councilman Jones, is we did do our homework and we did do our due diligence, and council did meet all three of the firms, and we did have conversations with them, and we did, you know, we did our homework. You know, definitely respects everybody's decision of how you vote, but you know, I think a lot of us got a lot of things off of our chest that should have been done already, that has been talked about over and over again. So as the president, I will start having these conversations with Mr. Jones to start pushing the envelope of getting legislation that will be important to minority contractors, and we'll go from there.
Mr. President, if I can just say one last thing, and this is certainly on behalf of the staff. You know, we have all along been going through, and I take what Councilmember Sanders said very much importantly, but we've all along, in terms of each of the opportunities we've had, we've maintained a list of vendors that we know are minority vendors. We've maintained a list of organizations that we know minority vendors are members of, and we've sent solicitations whether in projects or procurements to those organizations that are already registered with Norristown, to those businesses, minority businesses are registered with Norristown, and to those organizations that represent minority firms of all races, Asian, Black, women, etc. And one of the reasons we brought and council approved the membership in the Minority Supplier Council was for them to take the lead, because that's what they do in assisting in developing in finding vendors. It was important that we do this before we got to bidding a contract out, because we knew that council was very, very serious about minority participation. And as the participant said to you, as the representative of the Minority Supplier Council said to you, they will find vendors for us to participate. They will find contractors for us to participate, because this is what they do. And so we wanted to accomplish that mission. I think doing that and doing it in advance of any construction bids was important, and it was intentional. And again, I know there's the talk about this 290,000, but you know, you've got a majority engineer that's got 300, not engineer architects that's got a similar contract. But I think it's important that we focus on the fact that the vast majority of opportunity, the 98% of this money, or 90 roughly, because I know there's some contingency in there, percent of this contract, there's an opportunity for diverse vendors to participate. And that was with intention. That was why we brought the council in front of you. And again, that's been the discussion with Mr. Gorski all along. So I just wanted to make sure council was clear on that. There's not been any ignoring of any any of the desires of council to do that. It just has not been as easy as one would think it would be.
Well, I'm hoping that, like I said, I'm hoping that we can have that conversation where we hold Mr. Kilkenny to find us legislation where we can have minority participation without saying that we will, and that'll be a better avenue. So, council, any other comments or questions? Councilwoman Smith, Vice President Smith.
Just one last final question of either Mr. Jones or other council members that were here when we did the initial agreement. I don't recall that anybody else that submitted information was a minority or person of color or women-owned business. But can anybody actually remember clearly whether or not that was the case?
It was not.
No, it wasn't.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments, council? All right, seeing none. We have a motion to award the contract for $290,316. Pre-construction phase is $69,516. Construction phase is $221,800 plus reimbursement cost to Gorski Engineering.
So moved.
Second,
Madam Secretary, can we have roll call, please?
Valerie Scott Cooper,
aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Nay.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Heather Lewis,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Nay.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye. The ayes have it. Resolution 20-50 passed. Mr. Jones, the ratification, resolution 20-54, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So council, you have before you resolution 20-54 ratifying an annual Juneteenth Independence Day recognition as a regular holiday for the municipality. On behalf of the staff, we do want to say thank you for initiating that in 2020 during June 19th. This would memorialize a holiday every year, June 19th, in Norristown as a part of our regular list of holidays, which would go from currently 13 holidays to 14 holidays per year. And the resolution is before you. If there's anything else I need to say, certainly for it related to the importance of the holiday itself. As you all know, Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the actual ending of slavery in the United States when it originated in Galveston, Texas in 1865, 2 years after the emancipation had happened. And so it has been celebrated mostly on the West Coast, and more and more cities are now doing that. And Norristown Council made the decision this June 16th to do it. This would actually ratify that action that council took on that date.
Council, any questions or comments? I have a comment. One thing I'll say is that council was very, very happy to do this. One thing I look at through government is that we have a social class that lacks a lot of respect and equity and injustices and everything that you imagine. And I think as a council now, we have an opportunity to be unapologetic about some of the things that we say and that we do. I learned this first, down in Mississippi. I'm sorry, down in Alabama first with a couple council members. And then in Mississippi, where they really were a lot of unapologetic for some of the things that they did for their for a social class that has been at the bottom for a very long time. So I'm hoping as we go forward that we stop being conservative and really being quiet about some of the things that affects our communities from anyone. And I think we should be a lot more progressive in a lot of the things that we do. And so it was definitely a pleasure to put that out there for everyone. We're definitely happy to do it. Council, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, the
Councilman
comment.
Jones.
Yeah, I'm happy that we've been able to acknowledge Juneteenth as a holiday here locally. But when you look at the big picture, we just appointed a contract to someone who supports Commissioner Joe Gale campaign. And in the next order, we're celebrating Juneteenth as a national holiday. So I think we need to look at that and really consider what we are doing as a council. And maybe we're not doing enough of our homework. But I think that's just what I wanted to add.
Thank you for your comment. Any other questions or comments, Council? Seeing none, can we have a motion to request Council to approve June 19th as an official Juneteenth holiday for the municipality of Norristown?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Heather Lewis,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye, the ayes have it. Resolution 20-54 passes. Mr. Jones.
Council, the next item is Resolution 20-55, which is Municipal Council's designation of the second Monday in October as Indigenous Peoples Day. That's a bit of history. In 1977, the Native Nations proposed that to the International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in the Americas that an Indigenous Peoples Day be established. In 2000, the United Nations issued a declaration on the rights of Indigenous people. Over 50 municipalities in 10 states now recognize Indigenous Peoples Day to highlight, celebrate, and educate others about the Indigenous heritage and resiliency. And the municipal council is seeking to do that with the designation of this day, which again, would be every second Monday in October. And with that, the resolution is before council.
Council, any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion to request council to designate and approve every second Monday in October as Indigenous Peoples Day?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Heather Lewis,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye, the ayes have it. Resolution 20-55 passes. Jones, voice over IP.
Thank you, council. These next two items kind of deal with housekeeping matters in the municipality, but also represents the first one being the resolution 20-56, which is a resolution for council to improve the implementation of voice over IP telephone system for the municipality. Currently, the municipality is operating on an old Mitel system that's been with us for quite a number of years. That system right now is costing us about $4,300 a month. in terms of payments for operators. Converting to voice over IP will accomplish, I'm sorry, I'm having some feedback. Will accomplish several things for the municipality. First, it will accomplish a almost $30,000 a year reduction in operating costs, because now once this is installed, the installation is about 20,000, almost 20, it's 19,300. But after that, it will go, our operating costs per month will go from 4,300 to $1,818, saving us about $30,000. This agreement would allow this to be in place for 60 months, which is pretty typical in the process. One of the other added benefits it gives us, in that in terms of like the existing system, it's that old plug wired in system that relies on us or requires us to actually install wiring and limits the mobility of the system. This ultimately will be paid out of the CIP project and not out of the general fund, because it is related to the upgrade that was going to happen as a result of the renovation of the municipal hall. We wanted to do it now because it's part of what we need to do in the relocation to Logan Square. We can, rather than try to invest in some wired installation or other installation at that site to accommodate our phone systems for the 18 months that we would be out of this building. We actually can, once we implement this here, pick it up and just plug it in wherever we go, and it makes configuration easy wherever, so we can actually design the space over there to match, making sure that the plugs are there for it, because it operates over internet system. And so with that, we're asking council to consider approval of resolution -20-56.
Thank you. Council, any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion to pass the resolution to award a contract to SSI to implement a voice over internet protocol telephone system to replace the current more expensive system?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, can we have roll call, please?
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Heather Lewis,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye. Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye. The ayes have it. Resolution 20-56 passes. Mr. Jones, resolution 20-57, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council Resolution 20-57 is actually a resolution for us to implement, and I'm moving too many papers around, so I know it's to implement a 365, Office 365 as our software system for word processing and other administrative tasking. This contract would be, in its essence, $114,300 once it's completed, which includes a one-time labor cost of $16,200. The rest of the cost is involved in a 36-month lease agreement for utilizing the software. As you probably know, the 365 has been made available for personal use for some time, which actually brought down the cost and increased the benefit of people purchasing Microsoft software for personal and office use, and now it's expanded to office use. It's less costly than buying licenses, per user licenses, which is the old way of doing things. It also provides for automatic upgrades so that we don't end up having to annually go through a process of purchasing upgrades, et cetera. One of the other things that's very important about this software is that CGJIS is a compliance requirement for all police departments. We currently don't meet that compliance. If we stay with the same system, Microsoft Office 365 allows us to have that mandatory compliance and to provide a more efficient use of funds for our operating systems to do the work that we do every day. So with that, we're asking council to consider approval of resolution 20-57.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions or comments? Can't really see, so if anybody wants to talk, just go ahead. If not, can we have a motion to pass resolutions awards to contract aside to implement cloud-based Microsoft Office 365?
So moved.
I'll second as long as it fixes my tablet.
You don't want me to say that because I'm thinking the same thing. I keep getting kicked out. Madam
I'm on my
Secretary.
phone, so.
Yeah, Madam Secretary, can I have roll call, please?
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Heather Lewis,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye. The ayes have it. Resolution 20-57 passes. Mr. Jones, labor agreement.
Thank you, Mr. President. This item is Resolution 20-59, which is council ratification of the labor agreement negotiated between the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, District Council 88, which is a crossing guard unit and the minority municipality of Norristown. We undertook a negotiation and had been delayed mainly because of this year because of COVID and some scheduling differences between us and the negotiating unit for ASME crossing guards. It was a very, very easy and collegial negotiation. It did not take a long time. As a matter of fact, we met and discussed this one time and came to an agreement. The crossing guys in Norristown have a very, very good contract. I shared that document with you in the in your packages. This essentially is the only change is in terms of the rates, 2% increase for each of the next 3 years. By way of just information about it, and I share it with council. Our crossing guards actually represent, in terms of their pay rates compared to both the public and the private sector, they're very favorable, 29% higher than, almost 30% higher than most public operations, and about 16% higher than most private sector crossing guard operations. They do have benefits that have been long negotiated with them. So we came to pretty quick agreement on the contract. They've already voted on the contract and approved it and are awaiting council's approval. And if given, we will sign the documents and we will be set until for the next 3 years, including this year.
Thank you. Council, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Can we have a motion to pass ratification of the labor agreement between the municipality and American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, District Council 88, Crossing Guard Unit, effective January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2022?
Motion.
So moved.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Heather Lewis,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Terry Curry.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion, resolution 20-59 passes. Okay, I'm gonna open up the agenda for something that was not on our list. Can I have a motion to open the agenda for the National Leagues of Cities resolution in support of federal funds to local governments due to COVID-19? Open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Jones?
Certainly, Mr. President, thank you. You certainly touched on what it's about. And this is just a resolution of the municipality to support direct federal emergency support to reopen and rebuild local American economies. As council is well aware, you are very active in participating in the National League of Cities. As a member of the National League of Cities, we certainly get their bulletins regarding National League of City actions in support of local government. And one of those actions was a request of member municipalities to pass a similar resolution that we can pass on to our federal delegation as well as our state delegations in support of federal funding, as the federal government is discussing this whole issue of funding to keep the economy viable and recognize that there are many communities that cannot and may not survive the loss of revenue as related to all of the issues from job creation, job loss, businesses closing, EIT, particularly for local governments, taxes, EIT reductions, and other ratables, which will challenge many communities' availability to even sustain themselves. So the goal is to make sure that as Congress and the President are considering making provisions to keep the national economy alive, that they recognize that cities make up that national economy, and that direct funding to cities related to that should be something that is supported and voted on soon by counties. I mean, by the federal government. And so, with council's approval of this resolution, the president's signature, we will then put our resolution in the hat with all of those other resolutions that are going to be sent up on behalf of communities to make sure that our representatives in Congress and in the Senate and the president, as well as other representatives in Congress, know that Norristown has added its voice to that chorus, to make sure that emergency support be provided. If you're talking, Mr. President, you're muted on one phone. I think everything is muted. Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're still talking, I don't hear you. I don't think anybody else does.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Council, any comments or questions?
Good question.
Councilman Jones?
Yeah, how is the funds, I know we had some COVID funding like the CARES Act and paycheck protection loans and things like that. How would these funds be incorporated down to the local level to a place like Norristown?
So these funds actually, because we are a direct entitlement city, our funds most likely come directly to us as an entitlement city. And it is really used to offset whatever general fund obligations or funding that we've lost. And I know Norm is going to give you all in his presentation a bit of discussion of where we see us taking the hit. And so the goal of these funds is to go directly to municipalities. A lot of municipalities, particularly the smaller municipalities, both in the Commonwealth and in other states, get their funds indirectly through some formula that's developed through the county, and the county disperses their funds. We'll get ours directly, and it really goes into the general fund. And the goal is to offset revenue that we've lost, that is in place, that needs to be put in place to make sure you have a balanced budget, and that our operating costs for this fiscal year don't exceed our revenue, which has declined because of COVID. And because of COVID, that is why, not through the actions of any community, that is why this is important, and the NLC on behalf of cities is advocating that.
Council, any other questions? Comments? Okay. Public, do you have any questions or comments? You would have to send in a question through the chat. I don't see none. Can we have a motion to close the open agenda for the National Leagues of Cities resolution in support of federal funds for local governments due to COVID-19?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, can we have a motion to pass for a resolution to go to the National Leagues of Cities in support of federal funds to our local government due to the COVID-19?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, motion passes. Mr. Butts, can you please lead us for the departmental reports for finance, please?
Mr. President, members of council, good evening. A couple of items here I'll go through as quickly as possible because I know the hour is getting late. First one is the 2019 audit is nearing completion. We're about on schedule. We're a little behind schedule, actually. We anticipate that the financial statements will be completed and available by the end of this month. We'll then send the comprehensive annual financial report, the financial statements, to the Government Finance Officers Association and an application for our second award for excellence in financial reporting. We received the award for the 2018 financial statements, and we think the 2019 statements are equally as good. So we'll be sending those off to GFOA, and we'll also be sending the annual report to DCED. I beg your pardon. Sorry about that. So that'll be taken care of in the audit. The 2019 audit will be out of the way. We're beginning to work on the 2021-2025 5-year capital improvements plan. We sent forms out to department heads. We've gotten information back from the department heads. We're setting up meetings with Crandall and department heads for next week. The goal is to have a discussion with the administrator and the department heads and get to council a resolution to adopt the CIP sometime in August, sometime next month. So we're moving along this year a little earlier than we did last year, quite a bit earlier with the CIP. Rolling then, after that's completed, into beginning the preparation of the 2021 operating budget, which will start with getting information out to department heads next month, getting the information in, meeting with you all in October, and hopefully having the budget adopted before Thanksgiving. So moving it up by a month, that's the goal. That's the challenge that Crandall has given us to achieve going forward. And then finally, as Crandall alluded to a few moments ago, we're in the process of putting together the second quarter budget status report for this year, for 2020. We'll have that completed and out to you by Friday. That's our goal, and I think we're going to be able to make that deadline. That will take us through the first 6 months of the fiscal year. That'll take us through June. We've been in discussions with Berkheimer, particularly on the earned income tax revenue that's coming in. As you will recall, when we discussed the budget and your familiarity with the budget, over 70% of our revenue comes essentially from local taxes from two sources: real estate taxes, which are running surprisingly right on target, at least so far. So we're pretty good there. 37% of our revenue comes from real estate taxes, about 34% from Act 511 taxes, the biggest act tax in the Local Tax Enabling Act, and Act 511 is the earned income tax. The difficulty in trying to figure out how we're doing with our earned income tax collections is the fact that the reports are made by employers after the fact. Some employers report monthly, some employers report quarterly. So if they're reporting quarterly on the second quarter, then we wouldn't actually have the actual numbers until into the third quarter. So Berkheimer has put together some analysis for us based on where we've been in past years and based on what they see with respect to what employers have reported in terms of their employment levels for the first quarter of this year. And we're running about, we anticipate, we'll show you in the budget status report on Friday, that we're running about $398,000 behind where we were last year at this time. It's about 1.6% a month, so about we're about 4.6% behind with our earned income tax. Could be worse. Could be better, obviously. So that's what we're dealing with, and we'll have a more complete picture for you on Friday. Another area of some concern is obviously parking revenue. Since we have not been enforcing a lot of the parking regulations, we anticipate, we know that parking revenue is going to be down significantly as well. On the expenditure side, I think departments have been pretty responsible, and I don't anticipate that we'll see any problems on the expenditure side. We may have to, based on the revenue picture for the second quarter, we may have to trim our sales a bit in the third quarter with some expenditure reductions where possible. So that's the picture. Being shut down for 3 months has taken a toll on our revenue, certainly. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Council, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Butts. Very informative as always. We hope that we can do something to help the people of Norristown out. And I know this COVID thing just hit everybody, and it's going to be a whirlwind, I'm pretty sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Gennardi, Miss Sparky Gennardi.
Oh,
Ah, you like that one.
fancy.
Are you saying not Sparky?
You're always smart. The most. All right, so I have a quick couple things. Mainly, we've just been preparing for this week. So we did a lot of planning, prep work, and I brought all the staff, and we did a lot of training, not just camp training. We did cleaning training. How do you clean? How do you wear a mask properly? What is social distancing? Because the age of my staff is between 16, majority 16 and 18. So we step by step walked through, how do you interact with the kids coming in? How do you take a temperature? And it's actually, this first week has been going very smoothly. All of our kids coming in, any of our community members coming in, very respectful. Everybody follows the rules. Everybody has their mask. We are limiting the building to 20 people at a time. Today we had a line out the door. We had to do a 1-for-1, one in, one out. So it was nice to see the movement. This is day 2 of camp. Today we probably had maybe 15 kids. I had about 40 kids registered. But with the situation, I wasn't anticipating 40 kids coming. And so that's why I really like just having that daily drop-in. You want to use it, you can. It's been working out. A lot of parents, I had spoke in a department head meeting, they're just grateful for their kids getting out. I had a mother who was in tears, just happy that we're offering the service. So with that, today we have daily plans, daily activities. We are going to the Elmwood Zoo on Thursdays for animal programming. We are going to have Audubon bird sanctuaries coming in for some presentations. So we're making it, what we can do for our 3 hours. And so far, so good. Knock on wood. Just some things, some quick updates. The DCNR grant application, Jane, myself, and Cal worked on, it was completely submitted for Riverfront for both phase 1 and 2. And we will hear back from that later this year. I told you guys I'm also working with, it's the Keystone Community Grant that Panoni and myself are working on submitting for Bartash, letting you know that that's just about wrapped up and ready to be put through. What else? We had finished the playground surveys. Panoni had put through this, which I really like. Jane and I spoke about it. What's great about it is we will have these surveys for, it can cover years, not long, it'll give you a good amount of time. So when we're writing grants and they're asking for specific stats or specific objective or specific something that we can pull from these surveys, we don't have to run and, quick, can you do this? Or do we have this from 6 years ago? We have it updated and it'll be done on the major parks, so that we have Aki, Skag are already done, Elmwood, Riverfront, Bartash, McCann, Guardino. I think that's it. But for the major parks, we're working on getting those surveys, which is a great resource to have. Just a quick contingency date, working with Victoria, who was the events consultant. Crandall, myself, and Victoria, we are discussing that fall festival we put on last year, and we're looking to move the fireworks to the fall festival. So we're still gonna hopefully be able to bring that this year. Hopefully it's still, we're still in green, everything is healthy and good, but we just postponed the fireworks, so I'm still in contact with the vendor. They said whatever you need, whatever date you want to choose. If we they'll be happy to accommodate us. Also, just the last quick FYI concert update. Basically, the modified concert schedule. I have been working very closely with Chief O'Donnell on where we're at on our, our Norristown COVID cases, and we kind of both decided, we need to be as healthy and safe as possible for our residents. So we're waiting for that flatline curve. This week, in the past 7 days, we were up as a county 72 cases, and we were up 10 cases in Norristown. So we are at 1,072. So basically all the concerts are scheduled. We're just postponing them. So right now we're just pushing them one more week into September. So we're hoping for our first concert as soon as we flatline, with that being next week. It'll be the 21st. But all of the performers, the bands have been really great. They just want to perform for everybody, and let's do it in the best way possible and the most safest way, so everybody can have a good time, because I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable either. So they're going to happen. They're just going to be pushed back a little farther, and it's still nice in September. I think we'll be okay. So I think that's all I have. If anybody has questions for me.
Council, any questions or comments? Councilman Jones.
Okay, thank you for your report. Quick 2 questions. Bartash Park, what was the amount of the grant through Keystone, and what are some of the things that are going to be done at Bartash? And then,
so the grant is for about $50,000, and that's for the playground updates, for signage, for taking the, obviously the old equipment out, adding updated swing bays, adding ADA equipment, not just ADA swings, but climbing apparatuses that are good for, gross motor skills, and kind of doing something, a little of both, because it's a bigger area. So a little of a SCAG and a little of Ackies kind of combined a little bit, but basically just, this is for playground equipment alone.
thank you. My other question was, for those who took out rentals before COVID that weren't able to use their nights or whatever, how is that working, and how are you going to accommodate those agencies?
So either, if they did pay, they have the choice of choosing a new date or getting a refund. And a lot of people kind of just choosing a new date, they don't want to give it up. Right now, I'm kind of pushing. I had a great conversation with Ms. Val today. I'm pushing for MLK, just because Elmwood, we have the pavilion. We're still in the middle of that of insurance coming out and looking at it. Some of the girls are still down. So I have been asking anybody who is inquiring about Elmwood, anybody who has had an Elmwood booking. I'm, having everybody look kind of at MLK right now. And I've asked everybody to keep their rentals to 20 people, right? There's some that I know that, like the bigger events, that Art in the Park, that happens in September with Pamela Martins. She's decided to go virtual already, just to kind of keep everybody safe, which is just fine, and we'll support, not a problem. But a lot of the bigger, like, communities and things, they just brought them down a notch themselves. Does that make sense? So they kind of recognized we didn't have to cancel or tell anybody no. Yeah, so it's not terrible. Like, nobody's having an issue. We're not having any issues at all. It's going very well. Does that help? I'm a little all over the place. I apologize. Second day of camp, guys.
Council, any other questions?
Hi, Ms. Val.
Erica, thanks for that report. So the NAACP has informed me that they want to do this again the 3rd of October. You've talked to them?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
Council, any other questions, comments? Seeing none. Ms. Gennardi, you're off the hook. Ms. Masonier.
Council President.
I won't be long. I know I tend to be long-winded, but I won't tonight. Have a few updates. HUD reviewed and approved our 2020-2024 consolidated plan. So we received the award for the CDBG 800,000 and the COVID CDBG of 500,000, and Council President signed it on last Thursday. We sent it back to HUD. We're happy about that, and I want to thank Council for their quick and decisive action when the ordinance came to them. That was a record time. Honestly, I'm very proud about that. So I was equally proud to receive that information and be able to tell you that tonight. We're working on CAPER, that is our consolidated annual performance report, where we give an update to HUD and the citizens on the projects that we did in the year before, which in this instance is 2019. We're still working on the blight remediation application. With economic development, we've been working with Wells Fargo to try and give them sites for the short-term lease as well as the long-term lease. I have discussed the next steps for the 257 East Main Street mixed-use development. They're moving ahead. They'll be submitting the land development application. I'm very excited about that as well. We've had our kickoff meeting for the parking study. It took us a while to get everybody together, just given the COVID issue. But we had our kickoff meeting and now we're in full swing. So hopefully within 5 or 6 months, Council will receive the findings of this report. With land development, we are finalizing, actually we finalized the letter for the Montgomery County, or rather the Montgomery Park Senior Housing. They're just about to go for their financing. They're about to close. They needed all sorts of documents prior to closing. As you know, that you did give them the land development approval. We also are in discussions with the county on the 400 Markley Street development, the Times Herald development that's going on. Recall the developer was looking at the county parking lot as part of the development as well. We've made contact with the county. The county seems interested, and so we're waiting for the discussions to continue, hopefully in the near future. We're still continuing with our zoning enforcement activities. And that's all I have for you tonight. If you have any questions, I'll be pleased to answer them.
Council, any questions or comments? Ms. Masonia, you're off the hook.
Oh, I'm lucky. Thank you.
Council, I'll just leave with this. You know, this council has done a great job, as well as staff, on moving Norristown forward along with our contractors. And we don't want anyone to, you know, take anything personal. But I think, you know, this council wants to, you know, we'll see it. But we want to keep moving forward, and we want to move at a fast pace. So with that being said, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, meeting adjourned. Everyone, enjoy your day. Be safe out there. Enjoy your night.
Have a good night, everybody.
You too, Cal.
Everyone.